Hi, welcome for our RTL online trainings and placements in Oracle Cloud and Oracle Technologies for both technical as well as for functional. Now, in this session, we are going to take one real-time assignment and we are going to perform, which is required for financial consultant as well as for supply chain management consultant. It's required. So here, when we join in the organizations or when we are doing the testing of the application, we are supposed to perform this type of assignment. And now the requirement is they are asking us just hire one new employee, and from that employee, you are supposed to create a supplier as well as create a purchase order for that supplier, and then check the purchase order data in the tables, backend database tables, if the information is stored or not. That's what the assignment over here. When the organizations wants to work on this here, okay, first we need to go for hire an employee. And if you are a buyer, then only you can go for configure the supplier sites and site assignment, right? And we should be very clear what roles are required, what data access required for supplier. Make sure that what role is required for purchase order creation and how we can navigate to the reporting environment where we can write the queries and identify the purchase order information. That's what actually required. Okay. So now I'm going ahead with this option here. We'll get an instance like this. Okay, they'll give the credentials. First, what we are going to do in our assignment, let's go for hire an employee. That's what we are performing. Go to FSM environment. First setup, manage user, means hiring employee here. So I'm going to hire a new employee here. It is so John Smith. And I'm going to make his one of the employee and then go for which legal employer is working for US1, for which business unit is working for US1 business unit. Let's go for save and close. Now this is employee setup, how we can go for do this. Now system is showing that the username already exists. Okay, no problem. This username is already exist. That's what it is showing. Let me change the name here. I'm going to change the name here. It is. This is the user account we are going to create here. And then go to navigator. We need to reset the password for this user. Tools menu, security console. Before that, we'll check whether the user account is created for this user or not. Go to the tab here, users tab here, and search for this user account. Now it's created successfully. And this is employee name. This is employee number. We hired this employee for so-and-so business unit. Okay. Now the next one, we would like to make this employee as a buyer. So what is meant by buyer? Buyer is nothing but an employee who has got the rights to buy the goods from the suppliers. If you are a buyer, then only you can buy the goods from the supplier. Otherwise, you cannot buy. At this point of time, Mr. Madan Mohan is just an employee. He's not a buyer. So we are going to do that setup. Let's go to FSM environment. Go to procurement because we will do the setup for buyer in procurement offerings here. We call it as agent, procurement agent. Procurement agent or buyer, both are same here. So go to manage procurement agent. I'm going to make this employee as a buyer here. For which business unit you are going to make this employee as a buyer? Select the business unit. What is the employee name? Madan Mohan is an employee name. If you would like to set the default business requisitioning business unit and you want to add the printer status, you can do, and you are going to give the permission to create purchase orders as well as the permission to supplier. Make sure that you got the access to create suppliers as well as you got the access to create purchase orders, but you cannot access to other users purchase order document. Access to other agents document, that I said none. It means Madan Mohan can log in and create purchase order, but he cannot view, or he cannot modify, or he cannot do all transactions on against the other buyers purchase orders. Okay, that's the permission. If need that also, we can specify that, but at this point of time we have not access to other agents document. Let's go for save and close. This is the second one, buyer setup. We completed this employee as a buyer for this business unit. Next, what do we want to do? Supplier. We want to go for configure the supplier. So before we configure the supplier, we are supposed to verify, is there any approvals are enabled for supplier? Because if it is enabled approvals, then we have to go through that approval process. Okay, that we have to verify. Then second thing what we have to do is we must be clear with the supplier process. First, we have to enter supplier details. Then we have to enter supplier address. Then we have to create supplier sites, nothing but branches. Then we have to assign this supplier site to the business unit. And after that, we have to create a supplier site here. Contacts. Who is the contact person in case if we want to buy the goods from the supplier? That's the hierarchy actually. Of course, there are some more things like within that, like supplier invoices, supplier payment, supplier bank account setup, and supplier qualification setups. A lot of other things we have that we will be talking in our training sessions. At this point of time related for this particular assignment, I'm just going to create a supplier. So before that, I'm checking, are there any approvals are enabled? Okay, let's come back to our FSM environment. There is a tab here, approval management. Right now it is showing only requisition document approvals, purchasing document approvals, but I would like to see the supplier approval process. I would like to see the supplier approval process. Let's go to all tasks here. When we go for all tasks, I could see that supplier spend authorization approval. Click on this. And now we are going for verify the option. Yes, approvals are enabled. But I just wanted to check what is the rule defined. Anybody can create supplier, no problem. It will be automatically approved. So we don't need to worry about that. Same thing, we have to verify another task, which is supplier profile change approvals. Click on this. And there also approvals are enabled. Let me check the rules here. In our training, we'll be discussing detailed about this approval process, each and every option, like how to create a rule and what are different options. And it is showing that approval required, single approver, supplier administrators. So what I'll do is I'll make it as automatic. I don't want to follow the approvals. I'm going to mention that it's automatically approved. Save. Deploy. Let me just check the rule again. Yeah, it's automatic approved. Right. So now we have done this successfully here, and approvals is automatic approval here. Supplier profile change approvals, supplier spend authorization approvals, both are auto approval. Okay, now let's go for now. The next one is we are going to talk about supplier creation. So if we want to create a supplier, your employee need a permission. In Fusion applications, whenever we need a permission, we have to attach the role. What is the role name? Supplier manager. For every module, there will be a 6 to 7 roles. We must be very clear about those roles, and we should have a clear understand of the functionality of that particular role. Okay. So right now we are working for supplier manager. Let's go back to this navigator and then go back to security console. Security console is an environment where we are going to manage the user's information. And here only we are going to add the roles to the user, and we are going to revoke the roles from the user. In case you want to create or edit the roles, we'll do it from here. Let's go for edit, add role here. And what is the role name? Supplier manager. Supplier manager is the role name required. Attach. And basic key is employee. So let's go for assign the role called employee role. By default is one of the employee. So let's assign that a role here. And after that, we will go for add any of the implementation users roles. Implementation roles also can be added if required. I'm going to add application implementation consultant role also. Click done button. Now Madan Mohan can log into the applications and can create a supplier. Let's see that. Since credentials not entered properly, I think we have not reset the password. Okay, so let me log in again. Password reset is not done. Let me do that. Go back to security console. So security console is given only for the admins, not for everybody. Now, Mr. Madan Mohan has logged into the application. We given the access, right? So we are going to test procurement suppliers. We given the permission for this Madan Mohan login, but still it takes some time to get into this suppliers tab. So we added the role to the user, and then you have to go for add the data access also. Let me do that. Go to FSM environment. Yeah. The roles are not applied successfully. It's still getting refreshed. Very rare case it happens like this. I'm just cross-checking the roles again. I'm just checking why the roles are not applied for this. We added employee role to access the self-information. We added supplier manager role to work with supplier creation. And also we added implementation rules to access the FSM as well as security console. All the rules has been applied successfully for this employee. Let's see why what is the reason behind this. Yeah, now it's done. Now it's been applied successfully. Let's go to navigator. Employee role is here. And then I can find procurement, supplier manager, right? Click on suppliers. Now we got. So it takes some time. Very, very rare case it happen. Now this is the page. So how we can navigate to create supplier, navigator, procurement, suppliers. Go to task list. Here we can create supplier. We can search for the suppliers. We can import the suppliers. We can also go for merge the suppliers. At this point of time, I'm creating supplier. Let's go to create supplier here. I'm mentioning that HP Computers is the supplier name. Business relation. There are two types of suppliers we will find. One is prospective supplier. Another one is spend authorized supplier. Prospective supplier means you are still in process to communicate with the supplier. It's not yet confirmed. Buying the goods from the supplier. Still, you are trying to gather the information from the supplier, whether you want to buy the goods or not. But spend authorized means you can buy the goods. You can buy the material from the supplier. And what type of tax organization type it comes under corporation I'm creating. Let's go for create a supplier. Now we got supplier number here. And creation date is this. How you created this supplier? Manually we have created successfully. You can also specify what type of supplier, whether it's a contractor or subcontractor, or is it insurance company or public sector or government or tax authority, trustee, like this. Status we can find inactive date. Now let's go for supplier address. We are going to create a supplier address here. I'm just going to have an address format here. Just taking postal code as 12200. And this address I'm using to give the orders to the supplier. We can give, and also we can expect some RFQs, request for quotations, and as well as the bidding. And we can also go for remit in case if you want to go for a deposit or remittance for other supplier relationship, we will use the remit to checkbox also here. Now supplier name is created successfully, then supplier address is created successfully, and then we have to create supplier site. But before we go for create supplier site, make sure that your supplier is done successfully and it's got approved here. Let's go for save and close. Now let's search whether it's done success or not. Go to manage suppliers. What is our supplier name? HP Computers. Every organization will maintain the suppliers information, right? And they might be having some thousands of suppliers. It's very difficult to manage manually or in Excel sheet or in some other place. So a system required this here. So now we are going for edit. Go to sites. For every address, we can have one site. Without address, we cannot create a site. Now, Madan Mohan is one of the buyer. That's why system is going to allow us to create a supplier site. If you are not a buyer, it will show you the warning message here. You cannot create supplier site because you are not a buyer. You are not a buyer. So right now it is not showing because current employee, whoever is logged in, is one of the buyer. Let's go for create this. And now we are going to have for which business unit is a buyer, and select this address. And I'm creating this as supplier site name here. And this site, I wanted to go for enable to purchase the goods from supplier. If you want to make the payments for this supplier site, we have to enable this checkbox. If we have multiple supplier sites, you can mention this is primary site for the payment. Site is nothing but a branch. So HP Computers has got multiple branches. You can buy the computers from any of the branch. This is one of the branch, and you can pay the amount here. You can purchase and pay, and this is the primary payment, primary site for the payment. So once the site is created, then we are supposed to assign this site to the business unit. Auto create assignment. It will automatically assign to the business unit, whatever the BU you are working, whatever the business unit you are working here. Let's go for save. A lot of options we'll find when you are creating an invoice for this site. Which currency is allowed? What is the limit? What is the matching option? How about payment currency? Do you want to keep the invoices on hold? What could be the reason? Can you keep all the invoices on hold? How about the payment terms? How you are going to make the payment to the supplier? Will you pay immediately or after some time? And do you have any relationships, payment relationship with other third party? It means if I want to make the payment for this HP Computers, either I can pay directly to HP Computers or on behalf of this company, I can pay it to some other company also. If this supplier says that, yes, you can go for pay to some other third party, you can do that. Okay. So right now what we have done is we created supplier site and then we have assigned to the business unit. Let's go for save and close. And then we will have an contacts information. Go to the contacts here. If I want to buy the material from HP Computers, who is the contact person, phone number, email ID, fax, address, position of that employee is all we can find. . mentioning that he is a contact person in this branch. He's a sales manager, and this is the mail ID. And if you want to create a credentials for this also, you can go for create user account. It goes to supplier portal. So right now what we have done is we just created a contact for the supplier site, and we have enabled user account also for this contact here successfully. Now we have done supplier setup successfully here. As we are a buyer, we are able to add this role to the user, and we are able to create a supplier. Now I want to raise one order to the supplier. So if you want to raise an order, you should get a permission and access. Two things we have to do. One is we have to add the role called procurement manager. Then we have to provide data access for which business unit you can buy the material. So that data access we have to provide. So two things we have to do. First, Madan Mohan should get a permission to create purchase order. But again, for which business unit he can create a purchase order? Let's say your client is having 20 business units, nothing but 20 branches. For which branch he can create a purchase order, either for one branch or multiple branches. So two things we have to provide. Access. One is application access, nothing but a role. Another one is data access. Okay. So when you say, yes, Mr. Madan is one of the employee and he is a buyer, he can create a purchase order. Then whether he can create a PO for one BU or for multiple BUs. So that we have to specify data access. First, what we'll do is we'll assign the role. Tools menu, security console, search user account, right, and search for user. First, we need a permission to create a purchase order. So what we'll do, we'll assign the role. What is the role name? Procurement manager. Procurement manager is the role name required. Fine. Next, data access. Setup and maintenance. Here only user information, just adding the roles. Every setup will do it from FSM. Somebody might have confusion. So what setups will do it in security console? What setups will do it in FSM? 99% of setups will do it from FSM only in this environment. Only one setup that will do it from security console is user creation, user management, role creation, role management. That's all. Not more than that. Only users and role setups will do it from here. Remaining all the setups we have to do it from FSM. Okay. Right now I want to provide the data access. Let's go back to your procurement. Data access here. Manage business unit data access for users. And what is the username? Madan Mohan. What is the role name here? Procurement manager. Business unit. There are multiple business units. So for which business unit you are giving the permission to create purchase orders? I'm giving the permission for US1 business unit. I'm giving the permission for US1 business unit here. Select. So whenever Madan Mohan log into the applications, first he will open the role, nothing but an application. Then system will allow him to create only for US1 business unit purchase orders, not for others. Okay, save and close. Now click done button here. Once we do the data access, we have to run one program. Otherwise, it may not be, refreshed. Let's go to the initial users. We call this program as LDAP process, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. This program, what it will do is, it will synchronize your users and roles, grants information, whatever you have configured. Once we provide data access to the user, then we should go for run this program. It's mandate. Let's submit. Generally, log out and login is not required. But anyway, we can just do that. We have to wait for a couple of minutes. Now we can verify whether role has been applied or not first. Go to Navigator, Procurement. We got Purchase Orders option, right? Yes, role has been applied successfully. The next step is data access has been applied or not. So role means you can open the page. Now I'm creating the order. When I try to create order, system should show the information that you can create order for the business unit called US1 business unit. It means you can create the order for this business unit US1 BU because data access has been applied. So now we are going to create the purchase order for the supplier HP computers. Choose supplier name, supplier site, supplier contact we got. So all this information we have done the setups. We have already configured, right? There will be some thousands of suppliers that we are supposed to load or create in the applications. That's our job only. As functional consultant, we are supposed to configure the supplier and we are supposed to go for data migration also. We'll be discussing in our training part how to do the data migration, multiple suppliers at a time, bulk import from legacy systems. Okay. And now what we have done is right now only one setup I have done, that is supplier. Another setup I have done, that is buyer setup. Only two setups we have done. Hundreds of setups we have to do for every module. Right now, today we have seen two setups. One is buyer setup, another one is supplier setup. Okay. So like this currency setup, location setup, legal entity setups, and how will you configure your business unit? You can have different styles. Okay. This is all we are going to discuss clearly in our training. At this point of time, let's go for create a purchase order. That's what our assignment, right? Now we are going to create a purchase order. Purchase order is a document which we will be using to purchase the goods from the suppliers. When you want to purchase the material, you have to mention what material you want, how much quantity, what is the price, where you want. This is all information we have to enter, right? Go down here and go for enter the lines information. I'm going to specify here. Select the items. So these items comes from inventory. Depends on the business unit which we have and which is associated with your, with inventory organization, you are going to get it here. We require 10 items and each item cost is $5. and go to schedules, nothing but when supplier has to supply this item, we can specify the date when they are supposed to deliver, and any payment terms are there, this all information. So purchase order will be created by the buyer by entering the information at 4 levels. Header information, header level, what is your purchase order number and who is the supplier, and purchase order total, currency, and payment terms and conditions, shipping method, freight, FOB. Line level information, we'll find item name, quantity, price, unit of measurement, item category. This schedules are nothing but a shipment where supplier has to ship the material, which location, how much quantity, when the materials are required. Distributions are nothing but accounting information. Every company required internal accounting transactions to manage the information, right? This is the document creation, and it will be submitted for approvals. Submit. So this is about the purchase order creation, how it will be created from the front end. So successfully, we have configured the role as well as data access for an employee and is able to do it. Now, I want to verify this data is available in the database tables or not. Generally, it's not required for functional consultant because we are just trying to create purchase order from the front end, and we are going to verify whether it's approved or not. If not approved, what could be the reason and what are the different approval options are there that we are going to test. But technical consultants, or whenever we are working in the data migration process, when we are working in the project, we will be migrating the data from legacy systems into the cloud environment. Your client says that I have 5,000 purchase orders in legacy system. Let's import those all into the applications. Let's say we import it successfully. For that, we'll follow some standard procedure, a BDI, file-based data import process. And we can also automate that process by using OSS, Oracle Integration Cloud Services. By using that also, we can go for automate. So we imported successfully, but we want to test whether data is not accessed in the tables, or some of the records has been, errored out, or some of the records are not there. But I wanted to see that. Where do we find that information? Okay. The value of the attribute revision is not valid. The distribution paused fund check with a warning message. Funds check means budget is enabled. That could be the reason. This one. And revision. Where is this revision? Maybe at item level, revision could be there. Line number 1. Okay. You don't have the budget for this item. That's why you're getting warning message. Okay. That is fine. Budget is okay. But what about revision? Why we are getting this revision error? Revision issue. The value of attribute revision is not valid. Revision can be entered at 2 levels. One is at header level, in case if you revise the purchase order multiple times, but we are not revised. The very first time we are creating the purchase order. In case if you take the existing purchase order and try to modify, it comes under revision. Second one is at line level, we can have the item revision is invalid. Okay, let me edit this. can remove the revision also. That actually in the inventory module will manage the revisions. While creating an item can be assigned for multiple categories. Default one revision. We can also have multiple revisions. System is showing that that revision is not valid. Now it's okay. Fine. This is our purchase order number. This is our purchase order number. Then warning message you are getting because of budget, insufficient budget for this purchase order. Budget is a different concept which we'll implement from general ledger module. It's okay. Now, what is our next task? We wanted to verify the data is available in the database tables or not. Let's go back to Navigator. How we can communicate with the database in Fusion applications. Okay. So we have to go to reports and analytics. This is the only place where you can communicate with the database. When I say communication, only select statement we can implement. We cannot implement insert, update, delete options over here. We cannot apply any data definition language, create, alter, drop, truncate. These things are not possible here. So we have to go with only select statement. Let's go to reports and analytics environment. We are entering into the reporting environment. There are two types of reporting we can do. One is report, another one is analysis. A report, we call it as a BI reports. Analysis, we call it as a OTBI analysis. It's like a dashboard preparation. In reports, you can write your own query. It means custom queries can be written and we can pull the data from database tables according to our requirement. And we can design the layout, whatever the way we want it to produce to the client. But analysis where you cannot write the custom queries, we have to go for built-in subject areas. So they're drag and drop. It's just drag and drop. It's a very simple tool, not much complex. At this point of time, I want to write a query. So let's go to BI reports here. And we want to go for, create a data model. Data model is nothing but select statement. We can write either one select statement or multiple select statements here. Let me just cancel this and create a data model. I just wanted to verify this information is saved in the database tables or not. SQL query, supply chain management, PO. You can give any name, but select this finance supply chain management is the data source. Some people used to give the name and they'll just select a demo default and write the query like this. Select star from PO headers all. You will get error message if you do it like this, where segment 1 equal to give the PO number. Press OK. Now it's showing the error message like this. The reason is you are not selected a proper data source. It means where is this table? Is there in supply chain or finance or human capital management? That we are supposed to choose that. I'm selecting financial and supply chain management. Then we'll be able to get the data. I can see the information here. It is. Now this is a header ID. It's a sequence number generated internally system, and where supplier has to send the bill sold to options here. I can find the document status is incomplete. PO status still it's not completed. What type of purchase order you created? Standard PO. And who has created this? Madan Mohan is the person. And what is the PO number? This. And this is header information. I need line information. Take this header and you can get it header ID. Based on header ID, there is a table, lines table, PO lines all, where PO header ID. Based on header ID, we can find corresponding line information here. Now I can find line number and other information. Here it is. Line data. There is only one line, right? And we can find item, quantity, price, other information here. Price is $5 we given. And this is the item description, right? And we can find the quantity. This is item ID. Item name will find in the table called EZP system items. That's a different table, inventory module table. The technical consultant needs to take care of that. Right. And now we can find this line information. Based on the line ID, we can find corresponding shipment information. That will get it from PO line locations. All is the table name. PO line locations all is the table name. What I need is here. PO line ID. Based on line ID, we can find corresponding shipments information. PO line locations all where PO line ID equal to this. So we can find. So generally in a single query, if we need header information, line information, shipment information, then we have to work with the joins. In SQL, there is a concept called joins. To get the data from multiple tables at a time, then we'll get it here. So this is about the shipment information. But anyway, I'm just showing you this, how we can navigate to the reporting environment and how we can write a select statement and get the data from database tables. But this is required for technical developers. But as a functional consultant also, we should be clear with this, because in the interview point of view, they'll ask you, or when we are working in the project also, let's say we are working on data migration. Okay, then we will be supposed to check in the interface tables why this requirement, why this record is not loaded, and what is the reason, error messages, is all we can find out over here. It is. That's why we need some basic thing, and of course we'll cover that in our training. Okay, so right now this assignment, whatever the real-time assignment we got here, that we have completed successfully. It's a very common, like when you join in the project, they will ask you, can you configure this and test it the business flow before we go for the client's discussion or conducting the workshop. Before conducting the workshop is nothing but you are supposed to show the demonstration about the product to your client. Before we go for gather requirement, you have to specify what are the different features you have in your product. Then you can take a scenario like this and then go for configure and show it to the client in a proper way, so that then they'll come up with the doubts and discussions, and then those things will be configured and captured in a proper way as in documentation format. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, now you can go for ask the doubts here. Please go ahead now.
Hello, sir.
Please go
Sir,
ahead.
can we add a single site in multiple BU?
Yeah, you can add. Right now I have added, right? Right now I just added same site for 3 business units. It's been added. Let me show you. Suppliers. HP computers. Edit. Sites. I wanted to know this site has been assigned for how many business units. Click on this. Go to the tab site assignment. We can find it has been assigned for 3 business units. Like this, it can be done. Yeah, please. Next doubts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I have small doubt, sir. Like after creating the roles and means once we are assigning the role to an employee, for example, HR specialist or HR analyst like that. So after assigning the role, every time we have to run the data access and
After assigning the data access, LDAP process we have to run after assigning the data access. For role attachment, LDAP process is not required. The moment when we do it from security console, let's go back to security console. And let's say we just wanted to add only the role to the user, then we don't require. Just go for add the role. Then automatically the role will be applied for an employee. But for this role, if you are going to provide any data access, okay, so for which role data access is required, for which role data access is not required, that we will be discussing in detail when we are talking about roles and security part. So at this point of time, procurement manager is one of the job role. Obviously, it's required the data access. Okay. So we can add the role. It doesn't require any LDAP process, but whenever we provide the data access for the user and role combination, then we must run the program called this LDAP process.
So by running this process, like automatically the roles and the data access will be
yes,
assigned to
yes,
that person.
yes, yes.
Another, what is the purpose of this third party, sir, in the cloud?
Third party is basically when the suppliers are having a relation with some other part, if they wanted to go for, manage the information in multiple suppliers. Let's say there is a supplier called A and he is having issues with the payment, and they says that you can pay it for my partner B also. So they have some relation. So we'll pay it to the on behalf of A, then we'll pay it to the second. In financials model, account payables model, we have third-party payments that we will be using.
Yeah, okay, so thanks, sir.
Yes, guys, any other doubts now, please? Thank you. So this is about our third demonstration. In fact, it's final demonstration. This is how we are supposed to do. Whatever the setups we have done, this is what our work. So if somebody is there new to the ERP, if somebody think that whether I can learn it or not, whether I can do, this is almost like a project scenario. We have covered almost role, data access and all in one day if you are able to understand. But when we talk about one by one, because you are not having much idea what is role, what is role access, data access, this all we have not talked about it, right? But still you are able to understand means then you can easily understand the entire supply chain management part here it is. Okay. Yeah. So any doubts are there? Tomorrow onwards, our regular sessions will be started here, and you will have the options to join in the same batch here and communicate with our admin person. I hope you have my admin number, communicate with him for enrollment. And tomorrow meeting ID will be changed, and any doubts regarding the training, syllabus, subject, job, resume preparation, interview preparation, placement point of view, I can clarify it. The rest of things you can communicate with our admin.
So when can we get the instance access?
After enrollment. As soon as you enroll for the batch, you will get it here.
Oh, okay. And how long is the period for training?
2 months. It takes 2 months time.
2 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Let's see you tomorrow on the same time with different meeting ID. And for enrollment, communicate with these people. Thank you.